It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on I don't know if I'd say beautiful Friday, but it's not raining. It's a little too cool, but it's going to get better over the weekend. And we welcome all of you into the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, where the Nashville Predators are one huge step closer to saying they're a playoff team. Last night, the victory over St. Louis means this. The Predators have an 8-point lead over St. Louis with only 6 games to play. So you can kind of start to think magic numbers, that kind of stuff. They have, at the moment, a 1-point lead over the LA Kings in the battle for 7th. If you finish 7th, you're likely to get Vancouver. If you finish 8th, it's probably the Dallas Stars. So pick your poison. Either way, it will be good to have playoff hockey at Bridgestone Arena. Kelly Holcomb has the day off, as is the tradition on Friday. Billy Derrick is alongside. Billy, how are you?
I'm good.
Excellent.
How about them Preds?
How about them Preds? That was fun last night.
Yeah, I was able to watch it, and, the Blues played really well. They came out firing like we thought they would. But the Preds, I thought that first goal, to get it early and to kind of show that they're ready as well, they're not going to back down, I thought was big. But the Blues kind of kept rebounding. They scored to tie it, and then they scored again to make it, was it 4-2 or 4-3?
4-2. They pulled the goaltender. I've never seen this before. With 11 minutes left in regulation, and what it was them saying is, look,
this is all we got.
We've got to get a victory in regulation. We've got to get 2, and they've got to get 0, when what ended up happening was completely the other way around. And while it does not mathematically mean the Preds are in the playoffs, it now really feels like it's going to happen.
Yeah, feeling-wise, I know it's not about feelings technically, but it does feel like that was a win that.
Well, it does to Morris Albert.
Yeah.
You remember the song? Feelings. Yeah, whatever.
Well, that's where we start with the update. The
Is it an award-winning update or just sort of?
We got a lot of college hoops to get to. So
okay,
with the
let's
coaching
hear it.
Carousel.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, the Preds win 6-3. They will play at the Islanders tomorrow night. Puck drop at 6:30.
And then is it New Jersey on Sunday?
I haven't looked that far.
I know they got 2 games in 2 days.
Yep. So I would guess, but they are at the Islanders tomorrow night. So see if the Preds can keep it going.
Some of the pressure's off, and that's not all bad for a little while.
No, not at all. Final Four is in Phoenix tomorrow. Game starts a little after 5 o'clock. Purdue is a 9.5-point favorite over NC State. And then at 7:50, UConn minus 11.5 against Alabama. So I'm sure there will be a play or two on those 2 games tomorrow.
Yeah.
But speaking of Purdue in that first game against NC State, Zach Edey is your AP Player of the Year for
I'm
the
shocked.
second year in a row. He's the first back-to-back winner since Ralph Sampson won 3 in a row at Virginia in the early 80s.
Yep.
He received most of the votes. Dalton Knecht did receive 3 votes. And then Jamal Shedd from Houston got 2 votes. So, we all knew it was going to be Zach Edey. I thought it was going to be interesting to see how close Knecht was because, we heard a lot of this season that Knecht should be the player of the year, but Zach Edey still exists. So
look, he had a player of the year kind of year, but this was one of those years where so did somebody else. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're being honest, Dalton Connect's credentials were player of the year kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But it was also a year where Edie cooked as well.
Yeah, and for Edie, this is like Connect coming back next year. A lot of people thought Edie was going to go to the NBA, enter the draft last year, comes back and even more dominant. And you talk about his stamina. I mean, he played that whole game basically.
That's the most impressive thing to me because big guys normally lack the stamina.
Yeah, quick feet. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what kind of pro Zach Edey turns into. I know Coach B said he thinks he's going to be a good pro. You didn't necessarily agree, but I'm sure that discussion will continue. Coaching-wise, Houston's Kelvin Sampson narrowly beat out Dan Hurley for his second AP Coach of the Year award. Sampson received 23 of 62 votes. Hurley finished with 21. So you could have put again. Yeah,
look, there are 5 or 6 people you could give that award to.
Yeah, you got Lamont Paris at South Carolina, did a really good job. Iowa State's Altzberger, TJ Altzberger, did a really good job. So Kelvin
been
Sampson,
pumping iron.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He is a big dude.
He really. I wonder where did he play? Do you remember him as a player at all? Because I mean, I didn't even know who he was, and he's early on there, right? Because he's recently hired.
He's the guy that replaced Steve Prohm.
Right, so
when Prohm
early
fired
in his tenure puts Iowa State as a 2 seed, really good season there. So there were a lot of candidates, but Kelvin Sampson ends up as the Coach of the Year. But let's get to this coaching carousel. Arkansas athletic director. It was known that Hunter Yurachek had zeroed in on Chris Beard, but Chris Beard had put on Twitter that he's staying in Oxford. He tweeted out, he said, "Great times are ahead in Oxford. We are just getting started."
Well, there are 2 things about that story. Number one, it looks bad at times when you leave after 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks doubly bad when after a year you jump one school in your league to go to another. Yeah. I never thought this was going to be Beard.
Really?
Now, who do I think it's going to be? I don't know.
See, I always thought Beard was a better fit at Arkansas.
Well, he might be, but the timing, there's this saying about timing in life is everything.
Yeah.
And the problem is this is bad timing. He's only been at Ole Miss for a year. They rescued him, from sins of his Texas days.
Mm-hmm.
And it would look awful if he left 1 year in and looked doubly awful if it was to go to another SEC school. I just didn't think he could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by this. He would have won at Arkansas. I think we know that. He would have definitely succeeded there, but he can do that. Why is it different at Ole Miss? I say he's a better fit, but I'm not saying, Ole Miss is a bad fit. It just kind of felt like Arkansas might have been the better fit there for Chris Beard. But
well, here's maybe the point. You can win a national title at Arkansas.
Yeah.
Nolan Richardson has proven that.
It hasn't
Do
been
I
proven
think
at
you
Ole
can
Miss.
win a national title at Ole Miss in hoops? There's nothing to say you can. And look, I'll throw the school I went to. There's nothing to say you can win a national title at Vandy.
Yeah, it's
because
never happened.
They've never gotten past one trip to the Elite Eight, several trips to the Sweet 16, and that's it.
Jerome Tang is now expected to be at the top of Arkansas's list to replace Musselman. So
I'd go with Greg McDermott.
You got McDermott. Does Tang leave Kansas State? Does McDermott leave Creighton? And are they kind of left with mid-major guys like a Will Wade or a Bucky McMillan at Samford? So I'm sure we'll get into all that with Griff coming up here.
This is some bad timing. Arkansas is caught at a really bad time.
I think the good thing for Arkansas is that it is a really good job. Like you said, they can win a national title.
Sure.
And they've won recently. So I don't think that's a program where you look at it and you go, this is going to be a tough rebuild. No, you can get it going, immediately. So
rehire Nolan.
Yeah. But Indiana State head coach Josh Schertz to St. Louis should be official here in the next 24 hours. Of course, their season just ended last night in the NIT in a loss to Seton Hall. So now you would expect maybe 2-3 days here to get that sorted out.
My buddy Will Perdue has talked to him a lot. in the last few days because Will did the national radio broadcast of the NIT. For me, the St. Louis move makes no sense. It's a lateral move at best. Now, the one thing going for it, St. Louis has built an on-campus arena. But, again, here's the timing. If you take St. Louis out of the mix, and now what we know on the Arkansas front, he would appear to go to the head of the class at Arkansas. And I'm sorry, nothing against St. Louis. There's no comparison in those jobs. And he's probably doing some real soul searching because I'm guessing somebody at Arkansas has contacted him and said, how solid is this St. Louis thing?
Yeah, I mean, look, the money is the big difference here between St. Louis and Indiana State. But I wouldn't say it's huge. I mean, I do agree it's a lateral move, tradition-wise. I mean, Indiana State, you could say, is a better program historically, no?
It is a better program. I don't know why he's making the move.
It's got to be money. I mean,
it has to be. There's nothing else that makes any sense.
We got the women's Final Four tonight in Cleveland, 6 o'clock for South Carolina and NC State. Gamecocks favored by 11.5 to win that one. They are the 1 seed. And then after that one tonight, Caitlin Clark in Iowa, favored by 3.5 against UConn.
What kind of number does it draw?
Not as good as Monday, but I think it's still a good
why
number.
Do you think that is?
Just it's a Friday night, number one. Number two, you're not playing LSU, Angel Reese, Kim Mulkey. I still think, like Caitlin Clark, there are people that may sit down and watch this whole game, but I still think there's a large portion of the country that'll tune in pockets. So they might switch over and hope she's on the court, and then they'll stay tuned in. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it'll do bad. I think it has a good rating, but nothing like Monday night, I don't think. So we'll see. We got that tonight. Last night, Vanderbilt loses 10-6 at LSU. They were down 9-0. They looked horrible in the first 4 or 5 innings. They did chip away late. They'll play tonight, game 2, 7 o'clock in Baton Rouge. And then Tennessee is in Auburn tonight for a big series there. So SEC play heating up. And then the pros, the Braves open a 3-game set in Atlanta against the Diamondbacks tonight.
Oh, yeah. Home opener.
6:20. Oh, yeah, it is the home opener.
Big crowd.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of people throughout the kind of winter months that wait up for this home opener and buy tickets for it.
10 degrees warmer, I might be there.
Yeah, what's it going to be down there tonight, I wonder? 50s?
Not real good.
Yeah, it was in the 70s and 80s. It looked fine in Baton Rouge, but Atlanta's a little bit further north. So.
Yeah, not the same.
So, yeah, we got the Braves and the D-backs getting going this weekend. They got the Mets after that. I think they're in New York. That might actually be in Atlanta. I'm not sure, but they do have the Mets coming up. So that's what we got.
Okay. So we've got what I think is going to be a really interesting couple of segments with Mark Griffin. I'm going to hit him with a couple of things that he has no idea are coming, but I want his first gut reaction to a couple of things. Then we'll get to the Final Four, where Mark's much more buttoned up and fully prepared. Stay tuned. This is going to be fun.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Okay, this is going to be fun with Mark Griffin, former University of Tennessee basketball star. His weekly Friday visit, never dull. But now there's the uncertainty of what's George going to ask me that I don't know about. Hi, Mark.
No telling.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. I can always just deny. So
no. First question. You're the athletic director at Arkansas. Of the available people or people you think are available, what's the best fit for that school?
Ooh, man, great question. Well, the names I haven't heard your show before I came on, George. You guys may have touched on candidates. I'm not sure. What I'm hearing is Tang from Kansas State, and I'm hearing Will Wade. Those are the two that pop up to me as far as the best. I think they're both great choices. I don't know if one stands out above the other right now because I don't know what Tang's background is as far as Arkansas. Having worked, in Texas at Baylor as an assistant for so long, I'm sure he's got tons of contacts in Arkansas. And then you got to go back to Will Wade to say what contacts does he have in Arkansas. So with that, I'd be leaning more towards Tang than I would Will Wade just based on background.
Okay, so those are two good ones. I've kind of thought all along that this guy at Indiana State, and I don't know why he's taking the St. Louis job. I don't get it.
I don't either.
Because I don't even think it's a lateral move. I think it's a step back. But this would be a good time for him to have amnesia.
Yeah.
Tell St. Louis, I've never talked to you guys, and go take Arkansas because this guy is hot right now. Yeah, they didn't win the NIT, but they were really good in that tournament.
Yeah, and one thing too, it's interesting about Shirts is, he's got everybody returning next year. So, I mean, he could sit, but he is hot. You're right. It's time to move on. But I'm actually shocked that he's going to St. Louis as well, George, when this came through here recently. This is someone we've talked about on your show during segments before. For people that don't remember, coached over in Harrogate in East Tennessee at LMU Lincoln Memorial, had great success there. One of the hottest coaches that's out this season based on his success of turning around the Indiana State program in 2 short seasons with a lot of transfers, and just put together a great team and a great game last night. I don't know if you've talked about it much at all, but I hate that it's not at Madison Square Garden, but, to be played at Hinkle like it was with the environment, truly great basketball matchup.
By the way, Fox and some other group are threatening to try to blow the NIT into oblivion. And, Mark, I'm of the opinion that the NIT in its present form probably cannot survive what Fox is trying to do to it. I'd go back to the old preseason NIT format and just call it what it is. This is our chance to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the seeding helped, when they went to the 1 through 4 seeds that they established, but, not taking, the mid-major regular season champions. I mean, you give these schools something to play for. Having it at Madison Square Garden is just a classic. I don't know what all behind that, George. You may know more than I, but let's hold on to some tradition here, or you're right. It's not going to be around much longer, or it's just not going to be viewed as much because the history is, the future's changed from what it was well established. People called it nobody's interested tournament. But last night was a great matchup, but I think it'd be even better if it was at Madison Square Garden for the kids.
It was also used to be called the not invited tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned it, Mark. A lot of people are interested. I mean, there's a great atmosphere there. Obviously, not a ton of Seton Hall people, a lot of Indiana State people. But hear me out on this with Shirts headed to St. Louis. That conference, the A-10, is not necessarily a 1 bid league like Missouri Valley. I thought Missouri Valley should have been a 2 bid league this year, as we all, I think, would agree. But, and you mentioned he's got everybody coming back. Maybe he thinks, hey, I can bring this team basically to St. Louis. Yeah. And if we have a similar season, we're in. I could be wrong, but the A-10 has got, I don't know how many teams they got in this year, but they're not a 1 bid league. So I wonder if that played into it for him.
You bring up a great point, Billy, as far as guys following the coaches. You're going to see, I look at other programs like FAU with Dusty May. How many of those guys are going to go to Michigan? It seems like 5 guys have entered the transfer portal for FAU, and we'll see which ones travel with him. But that's a great point, is how many will go to St. Louis. And we just don't know what all went into this with him. But if he's got peace of going to St. Louis, maybe there's family issues involved, relatives, favors, maybe the athletics director. We just don't know what all is involved. But I tell you what, whoever put this together for St. Louis should be going to happy hour, because what a great coup to land him.
Okay, would you agree with me if you're Hunter Yurachek, the AD at Arkansas? You've got to pick up the phone and call this guy and say, how solid is this St. Louis thing? Because Arkansas is up here and St. Louis isn't.
No doubt. You pick up the phone immediately and you say, hey, your salary will be here and what you're getting is down here. We're going to give you 5 years. You're going to have all the support. You're going to get NIL money. And, St. Louis, as far as NIL, how much money are those guys going to get? How much are they going to need for the A-10? How much limelight does Shirts really want, though? See, you talk about a coach, George, that's, people want to excel and move up in coaching, but there's certain people that just love to coach, and all the extra that goes with it is just noise. And if he's satisfied with moving up at the level that he is, then kudos to him. I mean, it's easy for us to say, take the money, go the SEC. But he's a young guy. This is part of his journey. And maybe this is just his next step in his long-term plans for his future.
Okay, let's go to this one. Big stuff going on right now in Lexington. A week after Mitch Barnhart tells Calipari, you're coming back. And look, I don't pretend to know why he's coming back. I have the suspicion that Mitch probably picked up a phone to those 3 up here candidates that I listed.
Yeah.
None of them said yes.
No, exactly.
And then all of a sudden it's, we're okay bringing him back. I don't know that, but that's what I think.
And the 32 million, but go ahead.
Yeah, you save 30 whatever million it is. Okay. So now you've got the case of Reed Shepherd. He's a legacy at Kentucky. His dad, Jeff, good guy, former Wildcat. Reed Shepherd, to me, is a really fine player. And I'm being told that the NIL offer for him to stay is somewhere between $2 and $3 million.
Oh, my God.
Okay, now let me take this a little farther. There is one NBA draft projection that has him as the number 1 pick in the draft.
Gosh.
Most all of them have got him in the lottery, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, are you friggin' kidding me?
Yeah.
The foot speed isn't there.
No.
What am I missing here?
I don't think you're missing anything. And yes, great 3-point shooter. I know he led the SEC in 3-point shooting with over 50%. I don't know how he did in the nation. He may be number 1 there. Clutch shooter, but you're right. Defensively has been below standard. We saw that especially I remember when they played Wilmington at home. Coach at Wilmington went straight at him, 3 possessions in a row. He could not guard. That's huge, going to be huge in the NBA as far as lateral movement. And, can he be consistent? I wish him the best, but if I'm, well, you didn't ask this, but if I am him and you're getting $2 to $3 million to come back to your alma mater and play, when your first year contract, we have to really weigh to see how much he would get. And would he slide, or is that a lot of hype right now? Because projections are one thing, getting drafts another. I remember going back to Keon Johnson that played at Tennessee, whom I coached for EAB. They had him right at like a number 13 to 15 range, as high as a 7. And then he got drafted like 20th. And that's several $1 million difference, per year over a 3-year contract. So projections are one thing, but when it's draft day, things change. And he's got to go through all the testing and how does he look there? Or does he come back and really build on his brand and make good money or really good money, and then further his education and more importantly, further his legacy, George, which, he'll have to weigh how much that's important. I mean, he could be like the Peyton Manning of Kentucky once he leaves, Lexington when he does go to the NBA.
So what am I missing in this? Because I'm looking it up again. I looked it up earlier today and about fell out of my chair. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
He's a fine player. Here's one of them. In a new mock draft, the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor has Shepherd as the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft. And I'm sitting there thinking about guards like Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Trey Young. He can't guard those guys.
No, they eat him alive. Well, whoever this draft analyst guy that you mentioned, I don't know. He must not have watched much of the last of the season, especially the last game Kentucky played. And then, the games I saw, just the defensive part really stood out. And that's a big deal. People say NBA don't play defense, but they do, George. And one thing you talking about taking advantages of weak spots in college. They'll run plays for those aforementioned guys you mentioned every time at him when he's guarding them. They'll clear the court. The coaches are smart enough to do that every time.
1-4 clear out.
1-4 clear out or 1-4 low. Just clear it out, let them go. And so I feel sorry for whoever's going to be drafting number 1 if they would take him. But at the same time, I wish him well. He can improve on his defense. That's one area you can make improvements through his off-season training program, getting him with a fantastic trainer, a great dietitian, his work ethic. Obviously, he's come a long way. I was fortunate enough to see him play travel ball, George, and he stood out as a great athlete then, but nothing like how he's progressed his first season at Kentucky. I mean, he was a standout player, but was he a difference maker in travel basketball? He stood out, but he wasn't even a great difference maker. But you knew he could play at the next level in college. I didn't foresee the NBA for him when I saw him in high school. But kudos to him for what he's done throughout his inaugural season.
Here's another one. The Toronto Raptors are mocked to draft Kentucky star Reed Sheppard with the number 6 pick in the NBA draft. Let me see if I can just quickly try this one. Let's see. This one looks like I don't know what I'm doing. And so we're going to bounce out of this one.
This is phenomenal radio.
Yeah.
Thank you, Billy. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't pretend to know the basketball you do, but when I see Sheppard, I see a lot of positives, and I'm a fan of his. But there's no way in hell that I'm going to sit there and say number 1 draft pick, lottery pick. At this point, what I have seen of him, the foot speed isn't there.
No, and I love the way he takes control of the game in the sense that as a teammate, you have to have your head up because he makes such sharp passes, heady player, really runs the floor well, dishes it well, shoots open shot well. There's a lot of things he does great that you can see why he would be in the NBA, but I just can't see lottery pick. Now, late first round, I can see that for the right team, but not first pick. No, not at all, George.
CBS Sports. Kentucky stars Reed Sheppard and Rob Dillingham to go in top 5. Okay, so I don't agree. It's nothing personal. I'm a Reed Sheppard fan.
Good
but
for
I'm
him
not
and his
that
agent
big
and his
fan.
family. More power to them. I wish them well, and just like yourself, George, I'll be following him in the NBA, and I hope he does well.
He needs to stay in college.
Yes, it's good for college basketball too,
Bingo.
though, George. With Kentucky going through what they're going, and to have Reed Sheppard back is big for SEC basketball fans and big for the Kentucky Big Blue Nation.
After the break, we'll get to the Final Four. I'm just sitting here thinking, can DJ get Zach in foul trouble?
Well, he made some interesting comments at the
Really?
media availability.
Okay, we'll hear about them when we come back.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Okay, we're back. He's Mark Griffin. He's a former University of Tennessee basketball star who appears on this show every Friday during basketball season. We have been blessed to have him on with us. Billy, what did the big fella say about Zach Edey?
DJ Burns was asked if he could give Zach Edey problems on Saturday. DJ said he hasn't had anybody put excuse me, he hasn't had anybody put scoring pressure on him as much as I will. Well, maybe he did, but not under a stage like this.
Wow.
Scoring pressure.
Okay, so here's what we think we've got. DJ is how tall?
6'9".
Okay, so he's giving up 7 inches to Zach Edey. Now, on one hand, he has incredible drop steps. His abilities with his feet are at the top of the charts. He really is very coordinated. But he's also giving up 7 inches. Can he cause Zach Edey trouble?
Here's where he can, George. If you watch DJ like I have during the tournament, because let's face it, NC State was not a targeted team before they turned it on during the ACC tournament. Even though DJ Burns got his start at Tennessee, George, by the way, and transferred. One thing he does that's unusual in today's game, he does not post on the block. He may start on the block, but he'll step out about 4 to 5 feet, catch the ball, and then he goes to work. He reads his defensive alignment very well, where he turns and faces the basket, or he backs into the defensive player. And let's say it's Edey this time. For Edey to have to step out 4 or 5 feet from the block makes, I think, an advantage for DJ Burns, because then you have to really test Edey's lateral movement as well from the inside. And can Burns blow by him with that baby hook or fadeaway jump shot, which will be unique to what Edey's had to face in the past. It'll be interesting to see how quick Burns can get his shot off, or if he can get him in the air and jump into him and draw some fouls, which teams have not been successful doing against Zach Edey. Purdue's a much different team if he gets into foul trouble. Teams have tried it and unsuccessfully. But if any team can do that against Zach Edey, I think it can be NC State.
Okay, and I think we all know that if they were to get 3 fouls on him in the first 8 minutes, Purdue is in deep you-know-what, because the supporting cast is not all that good. And the truth of the matter is that most of their effective guard play is because Zach Edey's there. Mark, I would contend that by the end of the Tennessee game, Purdue's guards wanted no part of trying to be any offensive threat at all. And I think that's a bad sign if they ever go against UConn.
Yeah, I agree, George. The one X factor that I think Purdue has that didn't have the best game against Tennessee is the Southern Illinois transfer, Lance Jones. I watched Purdue play, 10 or 11 games this season and really like him. He reminds me of Triple J from Tennessee, does a lot for this program as far as getting offensive rebounds or backdoor passes for layups. He's the hustle guy, the glue guy on defense. Do they turn to him if Edey gets in foul trouble? I think that's a lot to put on his shoulders, but I do think that he's someone that could have a breakout game to complement Edey's game because he's had a great season, and I don't think Purdue is where they are right now without Lance Jones's effort.
Do you give NC State a chance to pull this upset?
I will give them a chance based on how they believe in themselves right now, George. And I'm just going based on their record. No one expected them to be where they are. You and I included, and Billy and everyone listening, unless you went to NC State. So with that said, you ride the momentum. They have nothing to lose for this game and everything to gain. And Purdue has much more to lose. But Purdue's perspective, they feel that they want to turn around a short season from last year and prove the country that they are the best. And obviously Matt Painter has them prepared. But I feel that I may chop this guy's name up, Doara, their other big guy from NC State, does such a good job in rebound, and he's like a walking double-double. If he can stay out of foul trouble and DJ Burns is able to move and groove inside, and then with DJ Horn, their leading scorer, can just be effective from the wing, I think that NC State can give Purdue a run for their money. Now, it's the spread is pretty high. I think it's a little under 10. But I really do feel that NC State can give them a run.
Okay, let me try this one on you. If you're Purdue and you're sitting there saying, okay, look, if we keep Edey on the court and he plays 32 to 34 minutes, we're going to win. That's got to be their mindset. If he's out there, we're going to win. But if we match him up with old DJ and he gets in foul trouble, we could be screwed. So I guess I'm asking the question, why not just have one of your other bigs guard DJ Burns, stick Edey in the middle, like they did when Dalton Connect tried to drive at the very end of the game, and he made an unbelievable block. But he wasn't guarding Connect. If you're Purdue, aren't you better off keeping Edey away from Burns?
I think it's a great thought. Will it be something that Painter would put into his repertoire? I don't know, George, but it's something that has to be considered. or you have a strategy for Edie, and it's just like, hey, be last man in the air. When Burns goes for a shot, don't take that fake shot. Just put your, wall up, they call it. Just stand tall, because he's already, 7'4", and that's a big advantage over someone 6'9". Maybe you get Burns to, drive into Edie, maybe get a charge or two. So you just tell him to play to his strengths, but not overreact on shots and take it from there. But if he gets 2 fouls, he's coming out, in the first half. So, he's still got fouls to play with. What's interesting to me that people may not understand how great an athlete Edie really is. To be 7'4" and play 39 minutes against Tennessee and average 32 for the season, that says a lot about his endurance.
That is, to me, the key point about Edie in college basketball is there's a level of stamina I don't think Klingon has at UConn. I don't know another big at 7'4" who could do that.
No, it's amazing. And one can say, well, he didn't have to defend the UT big guys much, but you got to get up and down the floor. You've got to have enough stamina to be able to shoot effective free throws at the end of the game. And he was able to do that. I don't know what clip he shot, but it was greater than 60%. And I think he's a 70-something% shooter for the year, which says a lot for someone 7'4". Who in the NBA, George, you could think of that shot over 70% free throws? I can't think of many. Definitely wasn't Shaq or anybody over 7 foot. So that says a lot for him. He's definitely worked on his game. He's earned National Player of the Year. I know Tennessee fans hate hearing that. Edie is the National Player of the Year, period.
Okay, let's get to game 2. It's very easy just to randomly say, well, if Alabama hits 15 threes, by golly, they'll be in there until the end. But then there's a part of me, Mark, going, wait a minute. UConn seems to be a team that feeds on other teams' helter-skelter, which is what Alabama is really good at.
Yeah.
On one hand, you're sitting there saying, well, this is what got you there. You can't just change and expect it to work. But is Nate Oates' style playing right into UConn's hands?
I think it is. This is the game that scares me if I'm an Alabama fan. Now, kudos to Alabama for their run. Mark Sears, Grant Nelson's, stepped it up at the end of the season. We've been waiting on Grant Nelson to step it up from the beginning of the season, because he was preseason all SEC, George, and did not have that type of year for Alabama. Now, Alabama leads the nation in points scored at 90.6. So I don't see this game being a high-scoring game that Alabama is going to want to do. I'm really big on UConn. And I know the spread's a little over 11, or it was.
Yeah.
I just think UConn is on a roll, and I think they roll over the Tide big time.
Okay, let me look ahead. Because I think a lot of us deep down would like to see a Purdue-UConn showdown. There's sort of a belief that Purdue will keep the tempo in the low 70s, which doesn't guarantee it's going to be close, but it sure gives you a better shot at it. What I want to know is this. Is Klingon good enough to just flat out go toe-to-toe with Edie? Because Edie doesn't jump any better than I do. He's one of these that gets about this much off the ground.
He doesn't have to,
but Klingon offers new stuff. He offers 7-2 and a very coordinated 7-2. If they play Monday night in the final, does Klingon cause him big difficulties?
Yes. And this is what media wants. They want the Purdue UConn matchup. And I would like to see an NC State UConn matchup. I just love the story for Coach Keats. Everyone's reflecting back to the 83 NC State team. And I just like the underdog. But with Klingon, I've watched him play. You know, he's coming off an earlier season injury, which now he seems to be 100%. We're all looking for that matchup because I think he's the only person. Like, I don't think NC State can really match up against Edey. They're just going to have to hope that the guards turn the ball over. That's been their downfall when and I know I'm reflecting back on Purdue, but their downfall is turnovers. But when you look at UConn and Purdue looking ahead to Monday, that's going to be the toughest matchup that Edey's faced all season. And I think Clingan, can give him all he can put up with and could force some offensive fouls going over the back. You know, a lot of Edey's success has been able to go over people and not touch or hit them hard while getting rebounds because he's so tall. But when you got someone just 2 inches shorter than you, you can't just go up like you did before. You may have to push or use his lower strength to move Clingan, and Clingan's pretty strong himself. So I can see a lot of opportunities taken away offensively, especially the rebound side, if Clingan can get a body on him. And then you got Sampson coming off the bench, who is a fantastic athlete. He's raw, but he's such a great athlete that runs like a deer. He could give Edey some trouble as well. I just think UConn has a total package, and their addition of Cam Spencer, I love this kid that came from Rutgers. He was one of their transfers from last season. I think this team's better than what they were last year. Castle is a freshman, I think, phenomenon. He may be speaking of lottery picks, George, that just plays within himself. You know, he doesn't try to do too much. And then I just think Hurley's got him motivated, George. I just really feel big about UConn.
Okay. Here comes a Mid-South exclusive. Nobody else has asked this question that I know of. Florida won back-to-back national titles in the 2000s under Billy Donovan and Joakim Noah, and I have this thought of Kevin Stallings grabbing the ball out of Noah's hands when Vandy took them behind the woodshed in one of the last great moments of Memorial Gym. UConn is trying to get to back-to-back status. If you could superimpose the Florida team of then against this UConn, who's better?
Wow, great question. You know, that'll be determined. They had, like you said, Noah, NBA player. How many guys did Florida have that I have to look and see how they progress? You know, Corey Brewer from here in Portland, went to the NBA, had a great NBA career. I think UConn's got several NBA players. So for me, I'm going to go out on a limb, George. It's a good debate. I still say the UConn team of this year is even better than the Florida team, I think, of 2007, just based on what I've seen and what I can remember. Now, remember, I don't remember everything because that was 17 years ago.
God, which is scary because I remember pieces of it like it was yesterday.
Maribel's own Lee Humphrey. I knew Lee when he was
right,
and followed him throughout his time at Florida, and what a great kid.
What a matchup Al Horford against Donovan Clingan would be.
Oh, I forgot about Horford
in that game. And they also had a younger Maurice Spates who was on that team as well.
Al Horford's had that group's best pro career.
Yeah, he's still playing.
He's still sitting in that corner.
He still looks
that
great.
Shot that, Okay, so I've got a question. Feel free to tell me to stuff it.
Okay.
In an unprecedented move, would you stick around for one segment of the 3 o'clock?
I can. I'd love to.
Would you really?
Stuff it. Sure.
Okay. We got some things we need to talk about.
Checks in the mail.
Well,
check, right?
He's waiting on that. He could be waiting a while because we don't send out our checks, by anything other than Pony Express. We're a little slow to the trigger. Okay. Mark Griffin will rejoin us. We'll have stat of the day. If I don't know it, I may dump it in his lap. And then I want to look ahead to Tennessee without Dalton Connect and what Mark Griffin thinks Vandy's going to do with a new coach and what he thinks they should do. All of that and more to start the 3 o'clock hour. Thanks for being with us. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Yo, you want to see something cool? No? Well, I'm going to do it anyway.
Step into the scene! No, nobody can do it like me! Zoom house plate with the kick cuisine! I was the black top king! 360s in my green machine! I was a kid and I was breaking down doors! Listening to Tribe, now we on a world tour!
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Top of the hour on a Friday. We're talking more college hoops with Griff coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards out in Shelbyville. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. All right, here we go. We're going hockey today. And I'm not sure.
You think Mark's going to help us there?
Oh, God, no. Wayne Gretzky. I don't know.
Last night against the Blues, Philip Forsberg scored his 43rd goal of the season, tying him with who for the most goals in a Predators season?
It's got to be Matt Duchene.
You think so?
From 2 years ago, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, good for you. Save me.
Oh,
so, okay, Mark.
Did you see this somewhere last night?
No, I did not. But, I mean, I remember Duchene had a bunch of goals. Now, for all of those goals, the amount of internal stuff that he was causing in that locker room, somebody besides me noticed because Barry Trotz got him out of here as quick as he could.
Where's he now, George? I'm just curious.
He is a Dallas Star.
Okay.
And it's possible that the Preds and the Dallas Stars may be on a collision course in the opening round of the playoffs. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Anyway, we welcome all of you into the 3 o'clock hour from our studios at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. He's Mark Griffin. He's a former University of Tennessee basketball star, and in an unprecedented move, he is with us for bonus coverage.
Because you got nobody else, right? That's why, right?
Well, it's not. I've got some things I want to get to, and I knew that I couldn't just jam it all in there. Question number one. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. Are you watching the women's games tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Let's take that a little farther. So last weekend, LSU Iowa became the most watched women's game on the college level in history by a mile.
12 million? Wasn't that it?
Do what?
Was it 12 million?
12.3, yep.
Yeah. So, Mark, the only men's game that has had a better number than that was the Duke-NC State game Sunday, which was 4 o'clock Central, Nashville time,
Right.
5 o'clock Eastern time, as you're starting to get, inching toward prime time. Here's what I want to know from you. Is this number just simply something that the women ought to celebrate, or is this number something that the men or the people that run men's college basketball need to be saying, there's a problem when we're not head and shoulders number-wise better than them?
Well, I don't think the men should complain at all. If their numbers aren't as high as the women's, then it just says more about the women's program based on matchups. You got marquee players, Caitlin Clark. George, I was out of town last week, different airports. I saw more Iowa, I think her number's 22, Clark tops than I've seen football jerseys lately. It's a phenomenon. I think it's fantastic the way she carries herself, and Iowa's carried themselves this program. I think there's a lot of LSU haters with Kim Mulkey. I think that a lot of people tuned in, including myself, hoping that that she would lose.
You wanted a fight.
I'm not a fan. On her, just on the court demeanor. I'm not even getting her personal issues. I don't care about that. I think it says a lot about the country and wanting to see people rise above and compete, women or men. I'm just so excited for everyone that tunes in to watch basketball, period. There's enough room. I remember this big debate years ago, and when the Lady Vols and men were both successful, can you follow both women and men basketball? Sure you can. If you're a basketball fan, you follow basketball. You follow high school. You follow middle school. Sure you can't dunk, and there's certain things that you can't do, but fundamentals are the same, George. Competition is the same. Striving for success and winning on the court in the right way will never go away. So I applaud what the women's programs have done, and for these players to stand out and get the recognition that they deserve. And to see it spread out where it's not just Lady Vols of the past, the UConns of the past, and even now, going back to the Final Four and, any other major program that has really stood out over the years, that you're kind of spreading the love, which I like.
Okay, so you don't think any of it is a dissatisfaction with the men's game, with people saying, I'm not happy with it, so I'm going to turn to the women's game, and oh, by the way, they've got a star that's, Pete Maravich Jr. kind of stuff?
I don't think so as a whole, George, but I'm sure there are a few people. I mean, there's going to be a small percentage that have turned away from men's basketball because of the way the game's evolved over the years, even going back into our generation, George, when you had a lot of junior, senior leadership, guys wouldn't leave. There was no such thing as a one and done. I think you have those old school types that may turn away because you don't see that on the women's side, people leaving after 1 year. You're able to follow the women's program and individual players for usually at least 4 years or 5 with COVID season. So there's familiarity, which makes you want to tune in even more to follow their progress. So small percent may turn away, but nothing significant. I just applaud both women and men.
Okay, let's go to Tennessee first. No Dalton Connect. How big a slide do they take a year from now, or do they take any?
Well, I think what is going to occur, if anything, you're going to have a selling point for Coach Barnes and staff for that portal transfer candidate to say, hey, we're going to bring you in like we did Connect, and you're going to continue to learn to play defense and improve in this team environment, but we're going to showcase your talent. I mean, how else can you not sell this program to a portal kid? I'll be shocked if some of the other kids, when I say kids, student athletes, aren't lining up to come to a program like Tennessee, as well as other programs that showcase their talent. So I don't see that being a detriment at all, but a big recruiting nugget for Coach Barnes and staff, and also being able to sell advancing to the Elite Eight. Sure, Tennessee faithful want to get to the Final Four and maybe a championship, myself included, but well pleased for them to go past the Sweet 16 and get that off of Coach Barnes, as far as being called regular season Rick. I think that's kind of gone away now. But will it be as exciting? I don't know. This was such an exciting year to watch Dalton Connect, George. I mentioned to your show, the first episode I was on, I saw this number 3 at practice.
Boy, I remember when you called me.
Yeah, that's right. Close practice. Coach Barnes let me go, and I saw this number 3, and I asked the trainer, who's that guy? I was like, this guy's the best player on the team, and I didn't even know what his name was. And then look what happened. But
yeah,
that's the mystery of college basketball recruiting. Some work out, some don't. I think they're going to be in a good position to land. Speaking of transfers, George, I know we're talking about Tennessee, but as a whole, I noticed today, when you're looking at D1 and D2 programs, after 17 days, there's been over 2,000 kids in the portal. That's 20% of collegiate athletes are in the portal. That's crazy.
Mark, my contention is that this can't go on much longer. And if it does, it's going to destroy the Belmonts, the Lipscombs, the MTSUs. And what really pisses me off is that these commissioners at the high level, and I'm aiming a lot of this at Sankey, who has shown a very arrogant attitude.
Mm-hmm.
He could care less about the health of the game.
No.
It's just simply the health of the big boys, and the rest of you can go jump in the lake.
And that's one thing, George, just what you said. If anyone tunes out of men's basketball, I think it's people that share what you just said. It's just the cockiness and arrogance of those in charge. People just say, you know what, I don't need this. But, you made a great point. I want to jump on this real quick because I did some research today. I looked up Belmont, Casey Alexander. 4 portal transfers from players who were expected when he recruited them to come back next year. Lost 2 seniors. So that's half his roster that his staff has to go out and fill a roster before next season.
Totally decimated.
It's crazy. And it says a lot. Here's the thing. It says a lot for what Coach Alexander has done to bring and staff to bring in players. But then it's like you're renting them. Short-term rental. And then they're gone. And it's a shame because for the Belmont faithful, you want it once again, get familiar with the players. They're here 1 year, gone.
Okay, Billy, chime in on this one. What are you now hearing Malik Dia back to Vandy?
Yeah, just rumors right now. I mean, Mark, you know how the rumor mill gets going on certain guys. I think he wants to stay in Nashville, but, nothing's official yet. But, yeah, I mean, Dia's a guy that if Coach Byington can get him back, and I think all signs point to him wanting to be back. It's just, hammering down the fine print type stuff.
Well, I look to Michie Johnson. That was Ohio State, went to South Carolina, went in the portal. Guess where he went? Ohio State. So it's not normal, but good for him. Plus he's got a record there as far as class attendance, so he can continue on with his classwork and not lose many hours.
Comes under the category of the grass isn't always greener in South Carolina.
Wait, so Michie is what you're saying? He started at Ohio State, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't even know that. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mark, let's take this new guy at Vandy.
Mm-hmm.
And would you agree with me that as he looks at this roster of junk that Jerry Stackhouse left, would there be any more than about 4 serviceable pieces worth wanting to keep?
If that. It was a transfer today of someone I'd not even heard of. I don't know who he's even got left. Now, please forgive me, the big guy that played really well at the end of the season.
Van Allen Lubin.
You keep him.
He's a keeper.
Billy, you got to keep him.
Yeah, Billy, we're all agreeing he's a keeper.
You got to build on something, and he really improved, George. And you got to sell him that you're going to put guys around him and keep him at whatever cost you can, because you can build on a player like him, because he's improved just as much as anybody I saw this season in the SEC, and I'm sure you guys would agree. But after that, he's just going to have to get a lot of transfers and go on the recruiting trail and get some guys from high school and just do a mix, sell them on the attributes of Nashville, what Nashville provides as far as a city, as far as Vanderbilt as an academic institution, and being the name basketball team in the conference. They always talk about SEC and football. Well, Vanderbilt, you can sell it as a basketball school, because I know a previous regime, that's how they sold it. And I think that can work. And then Memorial Magic, you have to go back and show some old highlights, but I think the coach can bring that back. And what I'm hearing is this coach is really big on defense, and I think that's going to really help as well. And try to turn this program around. It's going to take some time, but with the transfer portal the way it is, guys, it's not like you have to wait 2 to 3 years to turn the program around. You can turn around in as few as 1.
So let me go here. I want to see what your thoughts are, because I get totally different opinions. I don't think Coach B is nearly as high on this idea as I am. I thought Jerry Stackhouse, some of his worst coaching was the shuttle system that he used on Jason Rivera-Torres, a kid that when he just came in and said, screw it, I'm letting it fly, had some big numbers.
Yeah.
Then he'd get buried back in some doghouse that Stackhouse created. Yeah. You wouldn't see him for a month. Then they'd get desperate, put him back in. The way Jerry Stackhouse handled him was awful.
Yeah.
I believe he is a piece that they need to think about keeping. What do you think?
Well, I think they do, but didn't he go in the portal? Am I wrong?
Yeah, but that doesn't guarantee he's leaving.
No, it doesn't guarantee. Well, and plus you have a new staff, and before he lands, you're going to be listening. I think you keep it. You do what you can to keep him, because what I saw was someone, even if he was inconsistent, he wasn't afraid to shoot the ball, George, and has had success. And it does mess with your confidence. I can think back, even my playing days when someone's, I call it messing with your mind, when you're out there and you're taking shots that may not fall. You're always taught shoot or shoot. But then you keep shooting. And then, like you said, you're buried on the bench. You're like, well, what am I supposed to do? You told me to shoot the ball. So it does mess with your confidence. And when you have to think, then you're already lost when you're on the court, because those who think less succeed more. And I think this guy just overthought too much this season. And yes, it was an adjustment for him, but he's young. And he could be a valuable asset moving forward if they can keep him, and hopefully they are able to keep him.
Billy, what are you hearing on him?
I heard that out of high school, Dusty May had recruited him to FAU, or not to FAU, but he had been in contact with him. So Michigan, I think, is an option there. And I actually heard we might get an announcement from Rivera Torres today. So we may find out whether it's after the show or tonight. But yes, he's a guy they should keep. He's one of the rare guys, Mark, that could put the ball in the basket last year.
Okay,
athletic ability. I mean, reminds me the one that comes to mind, and maybe a bad comparison. No, some people don't like when you compare him to others. Was like Tyler Hero. That's who.
Yeah, I said that. I said the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, let me try this one. This is the third piece that I don't know quite where you go with. Tyron Lawrence, a young guy who has ability, who appeared to be by far the highest paid NIL player on their roster, appeared to me to be an attitude issue, looked very disinterested at times, bordering on pissed off that he made the decision to come back. I would, if I'm a coach, want to have a serious talk about attitude.
Yeah.
But I know he's got some SEC ability. First of all, Billy, what are you hearing? And then, Mark, I'm going to want you to comment on what you think should happen.
Sure.
Yeah, not hearing a whole lot. I do know that he has a kid, and so that that he has a place in Nashville, I would guess. So maybe that's part of it for him. Maybe staying close to home and making things easier for him. But not hearing a ton so far on whether they may try to keep him or if they want him or what he wants to do.
Well, my feelings on Lawrence is I really like him, and I think he's a gamer, and I think he's a game changer. Yes, but the attitude part really bugs me in the sense that I call it a cancer killer. You can't have those guys on your team if you're going to have bad body language, and who knows what else is going on in the locker room. So the coach is really going to have a heart-to-heart to say, hey, where is your heart? And are you in this to win it and help build up your teammates and grow? Or you can see yourself out the door pretty much. I mean, it's going to have to be that type of discussion. Now, he's got a lot invested in this program as well, Lawrence does. I mean, once again, I go back to the academic side. I want to say he's going to be a senior, if I'm not mistaken, guys. He spent a lot of time on campus in Nashville, should be getting close to a degree. That's something that's got to be considered when he does finally put away the basketball, however long that's going to be in his future. And I think it adds a lot by staying with a program like Vanderbilt when he's out looking for jobs at some point. People give him more of an opportunity because they can say, hey, yes, you went through a downtime. We all go through downtimes, but you persevered, you fought back, you changed your attitude, but you kept your work ethic. I'd like to hire you. So for that purpose, I'd like for him to stay. And it is frustrating when you lose, George, and when things don't go well. I can remember my freshman year at UT, I think we were 14-16. It was very frustrating. I wanted to go back to West Tennessee. My parents wouldn't let me. I probably wouldn't have gone, but I wanted to go. But you had to stick it out. And it says a lot for these guys that stick it out. And I hope that he does. I hope that we're seeing him next year in Memorial.
Okay, last thing on this subject, because I hear both sides of it. I hear, well, the beauty of the transfer portal is that you can suck 1 year, and if you play your cards right, you can be way better a year later. On the flip side, I know what I know about what I saw of Vandy's roster. It was a bunch of mid-major junk that Jerry Stackhouse should have been embarrassed about because it showed a complete lack of effort on he and his staff's end to get them D1 talent. So under the category of there's not a lot there worth keeping, when you're 9-24, there's a reason that they weren't any good. So what is fair to expect Mark Byington to be able to pull off? Is it fair to say, well, given the new world order in college basketball, he ought to be able to get them to the middle of the conference, that they should stay at the bottom. What is fair for next season?
Well, it's a zero-sum game. We all start over. They all start over. I think it's fair to get to the middle. I mean, of course, you're going to hear from, coach speak saying that, they're going to be striving for the upper echelon. I get that. But, be able to sell the SEC and once again, Memorial Magic, to be able to sell Nashville, playing time, making a difference. There's a lot to sell and can turn around a program in a year. One thing I noted on the previous episode, George, is that there were 2 SEC programs that do not have 4-star players coming to the universities next year. It was Vanderbilt and South Carolina. South Carolina will get a 4-star. I could see the new coach landing a 4-star player for this program here soon. I don't know all the recruiting contacts that this incoming staff has, but you've got a lot to sell, and it only takes a few. It could take as few as 2 players, George.
Right.
And bring in the likes of the individuals, or to keep the likes of the individuals that we talked about earlier, to really make a jump in the SEC for next season. So I think it's much easier to make a jump in college basketball than it is in college football, as you know.
Numbers game,
or even college baseball.
Billy, you got anything?
Man, I think Mark's covered it all.
No, I think
it was a good segment.
It was an anthology series.
Yeah.
Mark, would you like to stick around to watch where I'm going tomorrow night?
Is it hockey?
No, I mean plaster bet of the day.
Oh, George, what was the term you told me when? Oh, stuff it. Yeah, okay.
Stuff it?
I think that's the term you told me if I couldn't make it to the next episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You did say stuff it, right, Billy?
Okay.
He did.
So I'm going to go ahead and say stuff it. I got some work to do. I have a day job.
Fine, you be that way. Hey, thank you so much, Mark.
Appreciate
not
it.
only today, but all year. It's been great stuff, and I'm very appreciative.
Oh, I'm honored to be on with you, George, and Billy. So honored for you to put up all the graphics and to put up with me during this basketball season. I know today's my last segment on your show, but I know it's not your last segment, guys.
No.
So thanks for being on the air for everyone that listens to you. I had several people today that stopped me. I could drop some names, George, of someone who knew your dad very well that I spoke to.
Oh, wow.
At one of the local clothing stores. I won't mention it. You can mention it.
Mm-hmm.
But that knew your dad. And just wanted to mention that a lot of people are tuned in each day to listen to you guys.
Thanks, Mark.
Tell them thank you. Mark, thank you so much.
Pleasure. All right.
Have a great weekend.
Y'all as well.
Okay. Billy, are we now prepared for plaster bet of the day?
We are. And it is brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. Let's check out what happened last night. Here we go. Preds got the dub. So now you're creeping even closer.
Indiana State did not.
That old 500 mark. No, they didn't.
No.
Oh, that was last night too. That's right.
Yes, it was. So here we go, getting close to respectability.
Here we go.
Let's start with game 1 tomorrow night.
NC State.
There is something about the Wolfpack that defies any amount of logic. I don't get it. You don't get it. Nobody had NC State going to the Final Four. Not even their own coach, probably.
No.
But there's a reason. This is a resilient bunch. You think about what they have had to do to get here. They had to win 5 games in the ACC tournament. They were within an eyelash of losing the opener to Virginia and none of this happening, them ending up 17-15, going to the NIT, being knocked out in round one, and on spring break 2.5 weeks ago. But that has not happened. And suddenly there is a magic to them. Do I think they're going to win tomorrow night? No, I don't. Do I think they're going to keep the score in the 60s or 70s and make it really interesting? I do. I'm taking NC State plus the points against Purdue.
I like it. I don't think they'll go down without a fight. DJ Burns has just taken over this tournament. They've got other good players, too. I like their point guard, Michael O'Connell. You know, him and Braden Smith will be a good matchup tomorrow night. And then you've also got Mohamed Diarra, who's also down the stretch of this tournament. The guard, DJ Horn, is a stud. I mean, they've got some other guys around DJ Burns that I think could give Purdue some problems. Again, I don't think they beat Purdue because Zach Edey will probably be too much. And, Purdue's not going to shoot as bad as they did against Tennessee. That's the other part of this. If Purdue shoots, just a little bit better than they did against Tennessee, I think this could get out of hand. But, I mean, we haven't seen a guy like – I agree with DJ Burns. Zach Edey hasn't faced a guy like him with his caliber that can shoot like he can pass. This could get interesting down the stretch late, but, yeah, I do think Purdue ultimately wins.
On to the nightcap.
Huskies.
I think it's UConn. Now, look, do I wish it to be otherwise? Yeah, I would love to see Alabama hit about 23s and just scare the daylights out of UConn. UConn's cocky. They need to be knocked off that perch. But the fear for me is that Alabama's style plays into what UConn does best. Helter-skelter. Get on big runs. Nate Oates better be ready to call timeouts a bucket earlier than normal because UConn will make you look silly if you don't. How Alabama stays in this, I don't know. I just know that they better hit a bunch of threes.
Yeah, I'm thinking around 23s in this game,
yeah.
To even have a chance because UConn is just so good. I don't see Alabama competing in this one unless, say Klingon gets in some foul trouble and UConn just has it's got to be really bad shooting night. Alabama, when they match up against teams that have really good defenses, haven't performed well this year. They lost twice to Tennessee. Tennessee's a team similar style to UConn. UConn's even better offensively. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think the Huskies roll.
So, an intriguing Final Four, even though the numbers suggest two, double-digit kind of games. The women play tonight if you're watching this live.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be very interested in a couple of days. What kind of numbers does Iowa UConn get? Because UConn can feel for the country, not to the level that LSU did, but UConn is definitely, what's the word I'm looking for? They're the bad guy in this game.
Yeah, I mean, they've been the bad guy for a while on the women's side, but now with Iowa and Caitlin Clark, it feels like they've kind of stepped aside a little bit, and Iowa has kind of taken control. I wonder what Gino Auriemma will have for them tonight. I'll be watching that one. I think South Carolina rolls NC State. I'll be watching around 8 o'clock to see what Caitlin Clark has. She has another 40-point performance in her. It's been unbelievable. So, but yeah, I'm interested to see the rating too. Does it get to 10 million? Where does it, or is it more like 5, 6, 7?
Who knows?
Because who would have thought 12.3? That's a crazy number.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, we're out of here for this week. On Monday, my buddy Kerry Keating is going to join us to break down the final that most of us think will be Purdue and UConn. But just remember this. About the time you think that's why they make you play the games. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday afternoon.